Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will be talking about taking action within your community. First, please take a moment to tell us who you are and where you are from in the chat. So, EarthEcho International is a nonprofit organization founded on the belief that youth have the power to change our planet. Our programs and resources have reached more than 2 million people in 146 countries. This week, we are going to be celebrating World Water Day. Everyone can and should participate in the protection of their water resources. Today, we are excited to have students from all over the globe joining us as we learn more about project implementation. If you are going to be taking action in your community, share your story and pictures on social media using the hashtag #MonitorWater. During today's event, you can send in questions. Feel free to start typing questions in the Q&A on Zoom or in the comments if you are tuning in on YouTube. We'll be sure to answer your questions as we go along. We want to thank our event sponsors, Xylem Watermark.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chloe. I'm a Water Challenge Ambassador from EarthEcho, or for EarthEcho, and I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia. I'm currently a second year sophomore at UVA, and I love to play tennis. And my favorite thing about living in Virginia Beach is being able to take a walk on the beach whenever I want. And so that's why protecting water is really important to me. Shreya?
Hi, my name is Shreya Chaudhuri, and I am a Water Challenge Ambassador from the Bay Area in California. I'm a senior in high school, and I'm really excited to speak about service learning with regards to water conservation today. So, service learning is essentially the idea of being educated through volunteering. This results in the students having real-life applications of ideas, typically only taught in the classroom, and they also are able to develop a real-life connection to nature. A main component of service learning is a take action project, where students will spearhead and start a project to solve a water-related issue within their community. There are 5 simple steps to create an action project. The first step is to identify and investigate the problem. The next step is to plan and prepare the action. The third step is to act. The fourth step is to reflect on the action. And the final and fifth step is to celebrate and demonstrate the final solution. So before beginning any project, here are a few questions to ask yourself to get some inspiration for the solution. What are you passionate about? Is there anything you can do to protect your body of water? How can you lessen your community's environmental impact? So this doesn't necessarily have to be super specific in the beginning, but try to broaden it up and then slowly narrow it down. So imagine the issue that occurs within water bodies in your community and tell us in the chat. So an example of an action project could be that if you test the water quality in your community and see high levels of phosphorus and nitrogen in the rivers, an action could be to speak with the city council about pollution elimination and removal methods. For the problem of little to no marine education, a solution could be to start a social media awareness campaign. For the problem of overfishing in a local water body, the action project could be to advocate for the creation of marine protected areas. Some projects that I started in my community include doing research on lead pollution in water, starting a plastic collection drive at my school, and writing an article about ocean educational disparities. So as you can tell from these examples, there's no one specific action that you can take, and they don't need to be science-based either. The first and most important step is to identify the problem in your water body. Some preliminary questions to guide finding your problem are the following. What resources do you have in your group? So don't try to over-aim. You don't have to invent anything or do anything really big to make an impact in your community. What are your skills and/or talents? If you don't like math or science, don't make an action project about math or science. You could create art using plastic pollution instead, for example. What is something that you want to protect? Are there threats hurting your community's ecosystems? These are some other starting questions to help you find your issue that you will take an action on. So take a moment to think about these questions and let us know your ideas in the chat. So some tips for this step include focusing on the source of the pollution, selecting your skill set, and involving a couple adults. If the main source of the pollution is not eliminated, the problem will reappear again. So make sure to address a long-term sustainable solution in your project. As a student, there will be a lot of things you will not have access to because of your age. So it's best to ask a parent or a teacher to help you out with a couple steps, such as transportation. The second step is to prepare and plan your action project in great detail. You have to research everything you can about the problem in order to gain a wider perspective for the solution and in tackling the issue. Within your team, make sure to first hold a brainstorming session so that you can get a lot of different ideas for the plan. So Chloe will now speak a little bit about how she helped plan an action within her community.
Hi, everyone. So the picture on the bottom of the screen to the left is an aerial view of the Virginia Aquarium and Marine Science Academy. So I was a volunteer there when I was in middle school, starting in 6th grade. And one thing we noticed was that in the summer, we get a ton of tourists coming from all over to check out the aquarium, look at the cool marine life, which is fantastic and awesome. And we get to educate people about environmental issues. But something that's not so fantastic is we got a lot of pollution in the parking lot. And as you can see from the back of the picture, like the Owl Creek is right on the aquarium, and we're very close to the ocean as well. So we were really concerned with pollution and how runoff in the parking lots might be affecting both Owls Creek and the Atlantic Ocean. So our project we decided to create was the cigarette butt cleanup, because as we were monitoring the parking lots, cigarette butts seemed to be the most common source of pollution that we found. So when we were preparing, so for our step one, we decided that the cigarette butt pollution was the problem we wanted to address. And then in the preparing stage, we had to think about the basic questions of who, what, when, where, how. So for who, we knew we were going to do the teen volunteers, and we were able to invite siblings and friends who were our age. Then for when, we picked a date in the summer, like Tuesday nights every week. So we had a set date. We knew how many people were coming, and then we would think about, how am I going to do this? Do I need materials? For us, it's not very sanitary to pick up trash, especially cigarette butts, with your hands. So we needed gloves. And to make it environmentally conscious, we thought about using reusable gardening gloves or trash tongs. So these are all questions you guys should start thinking about when you're coming up with your action idea, because they all go into having a successful event. You also need to think about what's the weather going to be like? Do you need to bring water, sunscreen? Depending on your action project, it might not be outside, but these are all important questions to think about when you're in your preparing stages. Back to Shreya.
So some tips for this step can include to get as much information as possible before starting anything. So this can include interviewing experts on the topic or through online resources. So you can reach out to teachers, professors, scientists, the city council, park rangers, climate organizations, youth activists, and so much more. You could also go through the local newspaper and see how people have previously addressed or solved this problem in your community, and what steps you can take based on the previous actions to help solve this problem in the current time. You can also see how people in a different part of the world has solved a similar problem in their own communities. You should also build a team with specific roles based on each teammate's skills. So remember to be as specific as possible before starting anything, so that the action step will be a lot easier.
So after you've investigated your issue and prepared thoroughly, then it comes the action. So step 3 action is when you're actually setting your plan in motion. This, as you can see on the slide, there are many different forms of action. It can be direct, such as picking up trash like I did. It can be indirect, which is like setting up trash containers. And I saw a comment in the chat about how you can educate tourists and people who might not know. So even if your action project is making a sign or a social media campaign about picking up trash or scooping dog poop, all of those things are helpful. Advocacy is also helpful. So you can write to your local government representatives or people in charge of your school if your school isn't recycling. So really anything you want to do is going to be helpful. And so is research. If you're going out and collecting data, like for us, Shreya and I are both Water Challenge ambassadors for EarthEcho. So we monitor the water quality with sampling kits once a month. And so that's data about different factors of the water, and that research can be used to help as well. So if we go to my specific example, you can see on the bottom, these are pictures from when we were doing the cigarette butt cleanups. So you can see the first picture is us counting at the end, wearing gloves. And so that is an important thing to do, is if you're doing a beach cleanup or if you're doing something where you can collect data, it's really important to take counts and tallies of things. And as you we have pictures of all this, and that's really great to be able to share with you all so you guys get a better sense. But that's another thing to remember, is in the event, you want to take some pictures. You want to be counting, you want to be collecting as much data as possible while taking action so we can analyze it and help share it later. Next, for step 4 is reflecting. So this is when you, after the event, thinking about how your event went. Did it go well? Did you learn anything new? Is there anything maybe that didn't go as you expected or that should be changed or improved? And so with reflection, it's really important to, if you're doing it with a team, touch base with all the team members after the event and see if anyone has any ideas or things that can be changed. If it was just you, then think about how you felt. Were you prepared enough? How did things go? Was it what you expected or not? And this step is really important because most action projects aren't going to be a one-time thing. It's like a big effort that you're putting in, but the goal is to keep getting better and keep spreading awareness and keep taking action. So the more you can reflect upon your earlier projects, the more it's going to be helpful for you moving forward to create bigger and better projects in the future. And so on the bottom of this slide is a graph from our cigarette butt cleanup data. And you can see it's kind of shocking the numbers we were getting, but collecting this kind of data is really helpful for reflection. And we would notice, if we collected Tuesday nights, and if it had rained the day before, our numbers would be a lot lower, which was sad, but that meant a lot of the trash was probably getting washed away. So that just means you can notice trends and think, well, maybe we don't have to do a set day, but we can notice if it's going to rain, then maybe we clean up earlier. And I saw there was something about reviewing step 3, so I guess we can go back for a second. Was there a specific question? Shreya, do you want to go to, yeah. Okay, so this is step 3, it's taking action. And this is when you are putting your plan in motion. So you have investigated your issue. So for us, it was, there's a lot of cigarette butt, specifically pollution in the aquarium parking lot. Then we got a team together. We figured out what kind of tools and equipment we needed. And then so step 3 was actually showing up on the Tuesday nights. We spent 2 hours picking up trash, and then afterwards we would stop and count. So that was, for me, that was step 3. For the water challenge and collecting water data, that would be actually going to your local river or bay or ocean and taking a water quality measurement. And we can also pause for a second, and if everyone wants to brainstorm, because I think it'll be helpful if you guys can think of ideas of maybe projects you would want to do in your community. If you think about that, we can put it in the chat, and then it'll help you if you have any specific questions about maybe what's the best way to do your action. Because if your project, or for ours, like direct action, indirect advocacy, and research, they all are related to different issues. So as Shreya mentioned earlier, really think about your strengths and weaknesses, and maybe even your abilities. So if you are like a young teenager and you can't drive yet, then you're going to have to think about those kinds of things. So just that's why like investigating and preparing is really important, because it helps your action activity be successful. We can go back to step 4. Yeah, I see in the chat weekly beach cleanups. Yeah, anything in your community that's going to remove pollution, or even like there's actually a psychology study where if your beach has a lot of pollution on it, people are more likely to keep polluting it. But if the beach is clean, it's kind of like if the beach is polluted, then it like sends that message to everyone like, oh, it's okay if it's going to be messy. And so people are more likely to litter. So there are also things you can learn about that kind of thing, and why it's so important to, maybe even if there's only a few pieces of trash, to keep cleaning up, especially in the off season. Like in Virginia Beach, we have a lot of tourists who come in the summer, but it's important to keep doing beach cleanups throughout the winter to keep pollution levels low. Yeah, so if there are any other ideas, you can throw those out. So yeah, step 4 was just reflecting, how did things go? Was there anything unexpected? What can you improve to make better? That kind of thing. And then we can go to step 5. So step 5 is demonstrate. So this picture over here you can see a cigarette butt like trash can receptacle. So after we collected all the data, we were able to go to the aquarium management, and they were able to use funding to buy more trash receptacles for the cigarette butts, because they saw how big of an issue it was, and they wanted to do something about it. So the action plans you guys are taking, it's really important, because not only are you removing pollution from the environment, but you can also make changes to help reduce pollution in the future. And so this is why it's important to collect data, collect numbers, take pictures, and then also sharing your story. So you can post about things, you can write for your school newspaper, for your local newspaper, putting it on social media. All of these are great ways to show people what you've been able to do. And this is also important because then you can inspire your friends. If you put it like in a school group chat or on social media, then maybe your friends or peers who you didn't know would be interested. They could ask you about maybe working together on a project in the future, or collaborating to come up with a new project. So sharing your story and demonstrating is really important, because then you can get more people to help take action with you. So that's why it's super important. Does anyone have any questions yet? Yeah, so I'm seeing a question or a comment from the chat. Portia from Texas plans to take action in her community by implementing a community garden. Agriculture and farmer use a lot of water, so connecting my community to local food sources is a step to protect our waterways. Yeah, that's a great thing. And when we're saying taking action, it doesn't have to be a big event or project. That can even be if you choose to buy produce from your local farmers market. That means the crops that are produced right in your local area are being bought by you, and they don't have to be shipped to other states to be put in grocery stores. So all of this is saving like energy, carbon emissions, water. So that is super important. And community gardens are also helpful because you can use compost, which reduces waste. And of course, gardening, yeah, excellent idea. Anything else? Okay, so now we're going to talk about some tips to implement a successful action project. And so going back over all of the steps we've covered, do something related to something you're passionate about. So if you don't really know a lot about something, if you feel really passionate about it, you're going to be motivated to find out more, investigate, and also like actually taking action. It's not a very easy thing, and it requires a lot of work. So if you're doing something that you care about a lot, then you're going to be more likely to do it and do it well. So for me, protecting the oceans is a super important part of my life, being from the beach. And so that's why it was worth it for me to be out in the heat over the summer picking up trash, because I knew it was important. So really try and do something that aligns with your belief, but also stuff that you're knowledgeable about. And then another thing is to plan far in advance. So when you're coming up with a project, you want to make sure you have a plan set. Like you don't want to have an idea for the next day always, because then it's going to be harder for other people to come help you. And if you plan in advance, you can share your event on social media with any of your friends, and then you can get more people to come and attend. And then also be flexible, because sometimes it might be thunderstorming, or there might be a hurricane or a pandemic where you have to shift to virtual events, and all of that is totally okay. As long as you're still doing things to protect the environment and help out. Yeah, so don't worry about it, be flexible, but planning in advance helps to alleviate any stress. And then we've already kind of touched on this, but it's always more fun when you have more people with you. So if you want to get your friends or your classmates to help you, it'll make your action project not only be a lot more fun, but you can have a bigger impact if you have more hands picking up trash, more people planting in your garden. So it'll be really fun. You get to bond with your friends, but also all of you can know that you're doing good things for the environment. Okay, so next we're going to show a short video about the EarthEcho Challenge. And this is a STEM competition for students, United States students in grades 5 through 6, so around middle school age, where it lets them investigate biodiversity issues in their own communities. So students will identify a threat to their local ecosystem and then work out and propose a solution to help preserve or protect their natural resource. The 2021 entries are open until April 22nd, so apply today.
I'm Philippe Cousteau, and I'm so excited to announce that EarthEcho International's Our Echo Challenge is open for entries. Over the last 40 years, 50% of the biodiversity on Earth has been lost. This presents an enormous threat to the future of our planet. And the Our Echo Challenge is a national program that empowers students to do something about it, to protect and restore biodiversity, and crucially, get the funding to do it. The Our Echo Challenge empowers teams of middle school students to explore their community, identify threats to local species, and then submit an idea for a project that will help to restore a healthy ecosystem. 10 finalist teams will join EarthEcho International to present their ideas, and the top 3 teams will be awarded grants to turn their projects into a reality. Teachers and educators, go to www.ourechochallenge.org and register your teams to join our STEM competition and submit your plans to change the world.
Okay, so before we move on with the rest of the presentation, we just wanted to talk a little bit more about the water monitoring steps that we do every month. So basically, like the steps that Chloe and I take are to find a water body near our house or near our community. And for me, it's a lake near where I live. And every month I go there and I collect a water sample and I test the water quality for the temperature, the pH levels, the nitrogen, the phosphorus levels, and also the dissolved oxygen content. And all of these components help us understand how healthy the water quality is of our local community. And it also helps us track the seasonal differences as well. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can start by going to our website in the Water Challenge.
And we also just wanted to highlight this incredible opportunity through Xylem, Let's Solve Water. So they're having an innovation challenge, which is, so starting April 5th, they're going to have webinars, prizes, mentorship, and a lot of other great resources. So any high school or college students who are interested can register today through May 28th. And yeah. Okay, so we also wanted to talk a little bit about the classroom book giveaway for the World Water Week events. So we're having a World Water Week student forum, which is an opportunity to provide young people with resources and opportunities and places to take action and protect water in their own communities. And this is all to celebrate the United Nations World Water Day. So this has been a week-long series of virtual events that have been designed to inspire and provide you guys with tools to explore water protection, learn a little bit more about it, why it's important. So any teachers or mentors who have attended the student forum can submit their students' classroom projects. There's students' ideas to solve water quality, and do this by April 30th, and you guys will be entered to win a book prize, which is The Endangereds by Philippe Cousteau and Austin Aslin, as well as Ocean for Dummies by Ashlyn and Philippe Cousteau. Yeah, so does anyone have any questions? I saw one comment about Sean from YouTube said you can plant marsh grasses to prevent runoff and erosion. That's a great example. So, and it kind of goes back to Portia's comment about gardening. So any time you have a plant with roots, they hold the soil in together. And so when there's rain, it doesn't run off into the water, which this is an important issue because sediment in the water lowers water quality, but it's also important to keep soil there. So you have land, and marsh grasses are a really important part of a wetland ecology because they help keep the soil in place, but they also kind of work as a trash net. So if there's pollution floating through the water, the marsh grasses can trap the pollution before it goes out into the ocean. So that's another great example. For the submission for project ideas and book giveaway, I believe we can put a link. It's the student forum. Yeah, we'll work on putting that in the chat for you. Okay, and then, oh, did you want to do it, Shreya?
Yeah, so there's another question about if there's structures or machines that could filter trash from a small stream. So I'm not sure if there's like something that's very commercial yet, but I think that you could, first of all, like do it by hand by organizing like a weekly beach cleanup. Or if you have more time, or if you're like an older teenager, you could maybe even try to start a machine with you help from your engineering teacher at school or something like that.
And I've also been a part of cleanup projects where people will actually go into the marsh. So you can do it on a kayak or wading if you're comfortable with that. And you can go in and filter like trash like manually. But that's a great idea. So if you notice an issue like that where, oh, we maybe don't have a solution right now, like that could be your project, is figuring out how can I make something like a machine to help filter trash from small streams. Yeah, that's excellent. Any other questions? And if you guys have questions too about the process, maybe of how to do an event, maybe ideas, feel free to put anything in the chat if you have ideas and we can discuss it. And I see Portia put the link in the chat for the Xylem Innovation Challenge. So if you were interested in that, definitely check out that link. It's a great opportunity. And again, up on the screen, we have our hashtag monitor water. So if you guys do go out into your communities and take action, or if you just want to check out some of the cool stuff we've done, you can use the hashtag monitor water on social media to find some of these posts and resources as well. And we are showing, these are our social media platforms, so you can check out all of our amazing content on there, and any questions can go to the email listed. And Portia has just put in the chat the link for project ideas and the book giveaway form. So if you're a teacher and you're interested in that for your students, definitely check that out. It's an amazing opportunity. So if there aren't any questions right now, Shreya and I can go back through the main steps with another example if you guys think that would be helpful. So we can use, if anyone wants an example of theirs to be used and wants to put a topic in the chat, you guys can do that right now, or Shreya and I can just make up something so you guys can see maybe how you work through creating an action project on your own. Yeah, so we can go with the plastic pollution in your local creek because that's been one we've been talking about. So if you're noticing that that's something big, first of all, you would investigate. So maybe if you live near this creek, you're seeing the plastic pollution. And so one way to investigate that is maybe take a closer look. What specifically is being polluted? Is it water bottles, cigarette butts? Like take a look kind of at that kind of thing. And then also think about what can I do about that? Maybe if you're amazing at art, you could make like a poster or an art activism or a song about it. Or if maybe that's not what you're interested in, then you could gather your friends or maybe your tennis team or whatever kind of communities you're in to go do a cleanup. Or if, like Shreya mentioned, if you're really great at robotics and engineering, you could come up with some sort of device to do that for you.
You can also ask within like your science class if anyone's interested in helping you out, so that you have like a group of people who are already like interested within environmental sciences, or you can even ask in different classes based on what skill set you're going to be using to solving the plastic pollution problem.
Yeah, so then when you're preparing, you're going to want to pick one of these ideas. So I personally am not great at engineering. I don't think that's something my skill set would allow for, but I like to be out in nature and use my hands. So I would probably do a cleanup. Shreya might choose something else. And that's kind of the beauty of this is we can all be passionate about the same thing, but maybe we're each going to do different events. And that will help as well, because one could be spreading awareness, another could be creating like an actual solution. And the other could just be going out and picking up some of the trash. So really anything that you feel like you can do, it's going to be a big help. So for my preparing, I might think about, well, the water's kind of deep. I can't just walk out there. Do I know anyone who has a kayak I can borrow? Or do I have waders? When is a good time to go? If it's a creek pollution project, you might want to think about, is it going to be low tide or high tide? When's the best time to get the pollution? Maybe do it before rain. So all of these are the kinds of questions you want to think about in the preparing stage.
So if you're going to be going down the route to like work with your city council or your local government, you could maybe interview like some park rangers or some like government politicians to get more ideas about how you can help stop this issue.
And then step number 3 is the easy one. It's putting whatever you plan into action. And so that for me would be going out to the creek, maybe with a kayak, picking up trash. But remember, while you're doing it, that I would be taking pictures maybe of like before, and then you could take a picture of after to show people the big difference your one trash collection mission made. You can take pictures also. Like an example in Virginia Beach, our local Harris Teeter used to give out free balloons, and people would find so many of them washed up in the oceans. And there was a really sad case where one was found in the stomach of a sea turtle. And so showing them the picture of that, then they decided not to hand out those balloons anymore, which was like, that was a good tangible action that's going to reduce plastic pollution in our community. So the things you're doing really are important. And so when you're taking action, definitely don't forget to take pictures, count how many things you pick up, that kind of thing. And I'm seeing in the chat, there's a local pond that is very polluted and has high pH levels. How can I help? That's a great question. So thinking about pH, right off the top of my head, I'm not sure exactly what to do. But yeah, Portia is a great idea that if you're noticing this is really high, definitely go to, like, I don't know who owns the pond, but you could figure out who does, or if you have permission to do testing there, and then show any local representative, government, and they can connect you with more resources, or research why is the pH so high, and then also research the implications. What is this going to mean for the fish and the organisms that live in the pond? And then you can take that information and do advocacy and put it on social media, get support or following, and then it's going to be easier for you to take action with that.
Yeah, you could also like see if this is a reoccurring issue, or if this has happened in the past, or this is something that started in the recent months. And you could do that by monitoring the water over the next couple weeks to see what happens, or over the next couple months as well.
Yeah, so then if we go back to our example of the creek cleanup, then I'm going to reflect after. So I get home with my bag full of trash, and then I'm going to count, what did I get? What kinds of trash was there? Because maybe if it's like food trash and it's near a park with picnic tables, then you realize, oh, well, we need better trash receptacles at this park. So you can kind of think backwards using your data to figure out the source of the problem. And then I'm also going to think about how that went. Maybe I didn't research the tide schedule and I went out and it was super high tide and hard to get back into places. And so next time I'm going to realize, oh, I need to go when it's low tide, and then it'll be easier to get in there, or the reverse. Maybe if it's too low tide, then I can't use my kayak to get where I need to go. So these are the kinds of things you want to be thinking about just to make sure that your thing improves. And I saw a question in the chat too about one-time effort versus recurring projects. That really depends on the project you're doing. If you want to do a big presentation at your school about maybe why high pH in a local pond is dangerous, that's probably a one-time thing because you need to do a presentation and get permission to present at school. But if you're doing a cleanup, that's something that you can pretty easily do recurring. So just think about what works best for you, but then also just like the reality of your project. And then for step 5, I would maybe take pictures of the trash I got, post it on my social media, talk about the importance of not littering. Yeah, and so then I would share my story, and then maybe my friends would say, oh, that's such a great thing you did. Let me know next time you go and I'll come with you. And then I'm going to realize, oh, like I should publicize this, and then you can get more people to come out and help you.
You could also demonstrate your results to like a maybe a government or like some teachers, and involve some more adults so that you can grow the extent of your project and you can build more on it like in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And these are like these steps we've been talking about are all helpful things if you guys are interested in doing the EarthEcho challenge, thinking through a kind of project like this. That's going to be very helpful for you, no matter if you're doing this for school, for yourself. Yeah. So I guess last chance, if you guys have any other burning questions, drop them in the chat so we can address them. And just, I guess, another thing to consider when you're planning, like I'm in college right now, and so I live in Virginia Beach normally, but at college I don't have an ocean right next to where I live. So that's something I have to think about when I'm planning my projects. If I'm going to be in my dorm, then most of my projects are going to be advocacy, or I'll do like Zoom meetings like this with local students. So you think about too, like where you are, what kind of access you have to different things, and that can help you too. Because also don't feel like you need to be right on the water, or maybe if you don't have a creek to clean up, like don't feel badly. That's not like a bad situation to be in at all. You can always still make a difference with spreading awareness and reaching out to local governments. So yeah, definitely don't be discouraged. And yeah, think about how you can help your own community. So I guess if there are no more questions, then we can wrap up for today. Thank you everyone for coming out and paying attention. Yeah, we're so excited to see the ideas you guys have. And we hope to see everyone who's attending tomorrow in that session.